welcome to my channel, a platform where I turn struggling math students into maths masters. Okay, I post videos Tuesdays and Thursdays, so be sure to subscribe and turn on the bell to get notified when I post any videos. Okay, so in this video, we are going to be looking at conversions and really how to answer any type of conversion question that is being asked to you. Okay, so yeah, let's do this. Alright, so we are going to now look at measurement and specifically conversions. Okay, so conversions just mean I'm going from one unit to another unit, or I'm going from within the same unit, I'm moving between like subunits. So if I was looking with length, I'm moving from millimeters to centimeters, etc. So we're looking at conversions, and I want to just add that, the methods that I teach on these videos, I have used specifically because they work in no matter what the scenario is, no matter what question or how you are asked something, this method is going to work. So it may be different from what your teachers teach you. And if you find that what your teachers teach you makes things easier or you understand it better, please by all means do it that way. This is really just to show you sort of my method and the simplest method that I found and that I share with my students, and hopefully you will find it easy as well. Okay, so let's really just start by looking at the different types of conversions, right? So in any mathematical literacy exam, there are two types of conversions that you are supposed to know. Okay, so how I've divided these conversions is a conversion that is actually given to you in an exam, right? And then a conversion that is not given to you in an exam and you are expected to know, right, how to do that, or that you should do that. Okay, so this is how we've divided these sections, and this is how we're really going to look at, these different two elements. Okay, so what do the given conversions look like? So in an exam, a given conversion would be like where they would say 1 teaspoon is equal to 4 grams, or 1 inch is equal to 0.0254 meters. Note here, this is really differences in units. Okay, then the conversions that's not given. In other words, you are expected, when you step into an exam, these conversions are not going to be given to you. You are expected to know these conversions. And those conversions are, for example, converting from liters to milliliters, from converting from millimeters to kilometers, etc. Okay, so this is how this lesson has been divided. We're going to focus first on, okay, so in the cases where conversions are given, what is the method that you use? And then if conversions are not given, what is the method that you use there? This way, no matter what conversion question they ask, you are able to answer it. So let's look at the conversions that are given, right? So in this question, let's say I will refer back to the previous example where it says 3 teaspoons is equal, not the previous example, sorry, the previous, just a referral that I made. So you'll have 3 teaspoons is equal to 12 grams of sugar, right? So the question asks, how many grams of sugar will you get from 8 teaspoons? Okay, so again, in this case, this is a given conversion, and you are being asked a question where one of the values, one of the units have changed. So if I look at the question, it says 3 teaspoons, 12 grams, and what they want to know is what is 8 teaspoons. So 8 teaspoons is already more than 3 teaspoons, so we know that the 12 grams, my answer needs to be more than 12 grams. So how do we do this calculation? So what I'm going to do is, this method I call the LVN method, and you will see that it comes up throughout my lessons, just because they work. Okay, just because it works. It's a really nice method. So the way you would start this is you will always start by writing the conversion that's given. So you'll start with 3 teaspoons equals to 12 grams. Then you write down whatever the conversion is that, or whatever the question is. So here's 8 teaspoons. So I'm going to put this 8 teaspoons and I'm going to place it underneath the 3. So the question is, how many grams then? So the method that we will do here is we will always work anti-clockwise, divide first and then times, and we will always start at the value that's on the furthest right. So in this case, the value that's on the furthest right is the 12. So I'm going to go anti-clockwise by saying divide first, so 12 divided by 3 multiplied by 8. And that will give you an answer of 32 grams of sugar, which means that 8 teaspoons then equals 32 grams of sugar. Okay, so let's try another example so that this method can sort of sink in. So the next question now is, we're using the same conversion, but in the first question they asked teaspoons, but now in the second question they're asking for the grams. They're asking for you, they're giving you the grams and you have to calculate the teaspoons. So again, I start with the conversion that's given. And in the question, they're giving me 15 grams. So I'm going to place the 15 grams underneath the value that has the same unit, which is the 12. So again, I go anti-clockwise, divide first, then multiply, which means I have 15 divided by 12 multiplied by 3, and my answer is 3.75 teaspoons. Okay, so this is converting between, this is if you are given a conversion, you start off with the conversion first, and then you always work anti-clockwise, dividing first and then timesing, making sure you start with the value that's on the furthest right. Okay? And that will then give you the answers. Always remember, please, whatever value they give you in the question, you must place it under the correct unit. So in this case, they gave us 8 teaspoons, so we placed it under the 3. And in this one, they gave us 15 grams, so we placed it under the 12, because we're placing values of the same unit underneath each other. That's very important. Okay, let's try another one. So here in this example, we are given that 2 inches is equal to 0.0508 meters. So the question wants to know 15 inches is equal to how many meters? Now these are very simple questions, grade 12s, and my idea here is, I know this is not how they will ask it to you in an exam per se, like these simple, straightforward questions as it is here. But I'm just trying to use these examples to teach you the method, because the method you can apply no matter how complex the question is. So you will start off with a 15 inches question. You will start off again. You write the conversion that is given. Then we are given 15 inches in this question. So we're going to place the 15 underneath the 2. And the method says anti-clockwise, divide first, then multiply. And that gives me an answer of 0.381 meters. That means that 15 inches is equal to 0.381 meters. So those lengths are exactly the same. Let's move to the next one. So again here, they're now giving us the meters. So we start with the conversion. We place 20 underneath the meters, divide, multiply, and it will give us our answer of 787.40 inches. Okay, so this is a method that you can use when you are given a conversion and you then need to calculate any of the conversion or any of the units that have been altered. Right, so just take a second to take that in, even if you need to go back, just to make sure that this marinates and that you understand this, because once you get this method, I can promise you, you'll never get conversions wrong again. Okay, so now we're going to be looking at working with conversions that are not given. So these are the conversions that they expect you to know when you walk into the examination. Okay, so they expect you to know that, with the lengths, weight, and capacity, how to move between conversions. Right, so you are expected to know that you are moving from millimeters to centimeters, how to move from millimeters to centimeters, meters, kilometers, and in either direction. Okay, so the important thing here is to note, okay, firstly, how many of each unit is in the other. Okay, so there's 10 millimeters in a centimeter, 100 centimeters in a meter, 1,000 meters in a kilometer. Okay, if you are being asked to convert in this direction, so from millimeters to centimeters or from centimeters to meters, etc., you will always divide. And if you are moving in this direction, so if the question is asking to go from kilometers to meters or from meters to centimeters, etc., you will always multiply. Okay, that will be the same for weight, which is milligrams, grams, kilograms, tons. These are thousands in each. And then capacity is your liquid, which is milliliters, liters, kiloliters, and 1,000 in each. Now, I always tell my students this you are expected to know. So this is one of those things where you are just going to have to memorize them. Okay? I always tell my students when they see a measurement question to write this, everything that's on the screen now, write it down. So that whatever you ask, you can just then use this to figure out what the answers are. So let's apply this quickly. Okay, so I've added the conversions in the left-hand corner. So what is in the blue block you will then have when you're actually answering the question. Okay, so let's do a couple of conversions so that you can see how this works. So it says here, convert the following to the units in brackets. So we are going to convert all of these answers to the values in brackets. Now, if we look, all of these calculations, grade 12, are always going to start with a number that is given. Okay, so I'm just going to write down all the numbers that are given anyway. So when you're doing a question like this, you will always start with a number that's actually given or that they're asking you to convert. Now, in the first question, they're asking us to go from meters to centimeters. So if we look at this little bar here, I'm going from meters to centimeters, which means I'm moving in the left direction. So what does the left direction mean? I'm multiplying. So I'll add a multiplication sign. Then, by how much must I multiply? Okay, so between meters and centimeters is 100, so I will multiply it by 100. And that will give me my answer of 20,000 centimeters. Okay, so that means that 200 meters and 20,000 centimeters, it's essentially the exact same measurement. Right. So now let's go and look at the grams and the second question where you have to go from grams to kilograms. So if you have a look here, this is obviously falls under weight. I'm going from grams to kilograms. So I'm moving in the right direction, which means right always refers to division. So by what? By 1,000, because there's 1,000 grams in a kilogram, and that will give me an answer of 2.5 kilograms. Okay, I hope you're starting to see sort of the gist of how this works. The next question, I'm going from kiloliters to milliliters, right? So again, I start with a number, and if I'm going from kiloliters to milliliters, note that I'm going in this direction. I'm going left. So it's going to be multiplied. But do you see that I am going over liters and I have to cross liters before I get to milliliters. So that means you're going to have to do two calculations here. And both of them are moving in the left direction, so both of them are going to be multiplied. So we're going to go multiplied by 1,000 and then multiplied by another 1,000. And that will give us our answer of 500 milliliters. Okay, so number 4, you will see we are going to now go from centimeters to kilometers. Okay, so I'm going from centimeters to kilometers. So I already know I'm going in this direction, so we're going to divide. We're going to divide by 100 and by 1,000. So we're going to go divide by 100, divide by 1,000, and then we get an answer of 3.5 kilometers. Okay, so this again, we are not given in the exam. You are expected to know, and I would encourage that you memorize the block and then just write it down whenever you actually have these questions. Also remember, you're always moving if you're going in the right direction, you are dividing. If you're going in the left direction, you are multiplying. And then make sure you memorize how many of each unit is in each unit. Okay? So in length is literally the only one that you actually, because weight and capacity all is 1,000, but in length you have to remember that it's 10, 100, and 1,000. Okay, so try and memorize that. I promise you it will make your life so much easier if you just write this down, and then when you're given a question, you can just use your finger and move across the arrows or move across, where you must divide, so that you know if you must divide or if you must multiply and by how much. Okay, now we are going to look at a situation where, in length, we have millimeters, centimeters, meters, kilometers, but in area questions and in volume questions, they also ask you to do units squared. Okay, so if and I want to show you how this works. So if we're looking at area, I want you to apply the exact same formula. So here, the only difference is if we're going from meters squared to centimeters squared, you will then divide by 10 to the power of 2. So whatever the unit is, right, whatever the power is, will now be the power of the values at the bottom. The same for volume. Okay, so take note, once you understand and know length, you can just add the 2's for area and add the 3's for volume, and that way you then can just do calculations between them. Okay, because this is usually where people they don't quite understand how to do the cubed and squared types of calculations. Now remember, you can't convert something that is from centimeters with a power of 1 to area. Okay, you can't convert area to volume, right? So just remember that whenever you are converting here, it has to be from the unit squared to another unit squared. Okay, so now we're going to look at a couple of examples where we are converting with area and volume. Okay, so when units are squared or when units are cubed. So we're going to look at these examples, and again, you remember we always start with the actual question. So if we look at 2 meters to centimeters squared, this is all squared, so I move to the area section. So I go 2 meters, 2 centimeters means I'm moving in that direction, so I'm multiplying. And how many is in there? It's 100 squared. So then my answer will give me 20,000 centimeters squared. That means that 2 meters is equal to 20,000 centimeters squared. Let's look at the second one. So the second one, again, we're going from millimeters cubed to centimeters cubed. And I'm moving in from millimeters cubed to centimeters cubed, so I'm moving in the right direction. So I'm going to divide, and I'm going to divide by the 10 to the power of 3, and that gives me my 0.085 centimeters cubed. All right, and then we look at number 3, where we start with a question, and we're going from meters squared to millimeters squared, which means moving in this direction. And that is multiply, and it's going to be multiplied by 100 squared and then multiplied by the 10 squared to give us an answer of 500 millimeters squared. Okay, so a refresher. We looked at conversions that are given, and then we look at the conversions that are not given. If the conversions are given, you're going to do the LVN method, which says anti-clockwise, divide first, then multiply. If the conversion, or when in situations where the conversions are not given, you are again going to memorize the conversions amongst the units. Okay, and then you always going to remember, if you're moving from left to right, you are dividing. If you're going from right to left, you are multiplying. Again, if your units are squared, then that means what you're multiplying or dividing by will also be squared. And if they are cubed, what you are multiplying and divided by are also cubed. Okay, this video, if you can grasp what I've taught you in this video, then you will always get the conversion sections correct. Okay, so I wish you all the best. For any of you who have upcoming tests on measurement, I hope that that this video is actually helpful for you and that you actually get full marks for these sections, because I'm pretty sure if you apply these, that you will. And if you do, please share it with me in the comment section so that I can know that that you're finding these videos helpful. All right, thank you so much. Okay, so that's that video. Hope you found it helpful. And if you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. And yeah, let me know what else you'd like me to cover, or if you have any questions on this topic, pop it in the comment section, and yeah, I'll try and get an answer to you as soon as I can. All right, thank you for watching. Bye.